Ever feel like your brain's just going a mile a minute? Thoughts all over the place, worries, second guessing. Can't even remember if you fed the dog this morning.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there.
It's like a three-ring circus up there sometimes. So today we're going to dive deep into, well, taming that mental mayhem, give you some real practical ways to manage all that mental clutter.
Think of it like learning to be the ringmaster of your own mind.
Exactly. But I mean, good ringmasters, they don't try to like control every single little act.
Right. They understand that some chaos is, well, inevitable.
It's part of the fun. So not about silencing the circus altogether. More like choosing which acts get the spotlight. Maybe dimming the lights on the ones that are stressing us out.
That's a great way to put it. And one of the most powerful tools we have for that is mindfulness.
Mindfulness. Okay, so I've heard that word a lot, but I got to be honest, sometimes it feels kind of intimidating. Like, am I supposed to, like, empty my mind completely? Because that sounds impossible.
Yeah, a lot of people think that. It's like trying to hold your breath for an hour. Not exactly relaxing, right?
Definitely not.
But mindfulness isn't really about emptying your mind. It's more about shifting how you relate to those thoughts. Imagine you're watching clouds drift by. You notice them, you see them, but you don't get swept away by each one.
Okay. So instead of getting, like, tangled up in every anxious thought, we're kind of acknowledging it's there, then letting it float on by.
Exactly.
Almost like a mental weather report, you know? Oh, looks like we've got some worry about that deadline clouds today.
I like that. And you don't have to, sit cross-legged on a mountaintop to do it either. Even a few minutes of focused breathing can make a huge difference.
Okay, so where do we even start with that? Like, is there a specific breathing technique that's, like, best? Because, full disclosure, I've tried those guided meditations, and honestly, sometimes I just end up stressing about whether I'm doing it right.
I hear you. A simple one is box breathing. So you just inhale for a count of 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, repeat.
Okay, so inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Got it.
And focusing on your breath like this, it can help ground you in the present moment.
Simple enough. I could definitely try that. But, okay, what about those thoughts that just, like, refuse to budge? They're not just drifting clouds. They're those big, inflatable, bouncy houses at the circus. You know what I mean? Impossible to ignore.
Yes. Those are the persistent ones, the worries or the regrets that just keep popping up no matter what you do.
Ugh, yes, those ones.
For those, we have a technique that might sound a little strange at first. It's called worry time.
Wait, so I'm actually, like, scheduling time to worry. That seems counterintuitive.
I know, it does. But instead of trying to, suppress those thoughts all day, which can actually make them stronger, you're giving them a designated space to exist. Like, okay, from 4.00 to 4.15, you can worry all you want.
So it's like, instead of constantly shooing away a rambunctious puppy, I give it a specific playtime where it can go wild. And then the rest of the time, it's chill.
Precisely. You're containing the worry to a specific time, which can actually reduce its power over you throughout the day.
Okay. I'm willing to give that a try. But what about those thoughts that are less like worries and more like, well, straight up negativity? You know, those voices in our heads that are always telling us we're not good enough, smart enough.
Yes. The inner critic.
Ugh, the worst.
Everyone's got one, though some are definitely louder than others.
Mine's like a foghorn sometimes.
So for those, we use a technique called cognitive restructuring.
Cognitive restructuring. Sounds intense.
It's basically about putting those negative thoughts on trial. You become like a thought detective, gathering evidence to see if those accusations are actually true. So let's say your thought is, I'm going to completely mess up this presentation.
Oof, yeah, I know that thought well.
Right, so you'd ask yourself, okay, what evidence do I have for this? Have I actually messed up presentations in the past? Or am I just catastrophizing?
Right.
Then you'd look for evidence that contradicts that thought. Maybe you've given, successful presentations before, or you've prepared really thoroughly for this one.
So instead of just accepting that negative thought as like the absolute truth, I'm actively challenging it. I like that. It makes me feel like I have some, agency. Like my thoughts aren't just controlling me. I can actually question them.
Exactly. You're not just passively accepting those negative narratives. You're becoming aware of them, you're questioning them, and ultimately you're choosing which ones to believe.
This is already giving me so much to think about. But what about those times when the thoughts feel less like, manageable circus acts and more like a full-blown stampede? Like, what if it's not just everyday worries, but something feels seriously off?
That's a really important point to bring up. Sometimes persistent negative thoughts can be a sign of something deeper going on, like underlying stress or anxiety, maybe even depression.
So it's like those thoughts are trying to tell us something, like a mental check engine light.
Exactly. And in those cases, it's crucial to reach out for professional help.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Remember, there's absolutely no shame in seeking support from a therapist or a counselor.
It's like even the best ringmaster can't handle every animal in the circus alone. Sometimes you need a specialist.
Exactly. Therapists are trained to help you understand those thought patterns and develop healthy coping mechanisms. They can provide a safe space to explore those deeper issues and give you the tools to manage them effectively.
Wow, okay, this already gave me a whole new perspective on those mental gymnastics. We've covered mindfulness, the worry time trick, cognitive restructuring, even knowing when to call in the professionals. But I bet there's even more to this taming your thought circus thing, right?
Absolutely. We've just scratched the surface. There are so many other techniques and strategies we can explore.
Well, lucky for us, this deep dive isn't over yet. We'll be back with even more tools and insights to help you become the ultimate ringmaster of your own mind.
Welcome back to our deep dive into, well, taming that thought circus.
It's amazing how much we can do just by, shifting our perspective a little bit.
It really is.
We've already talked about some super useful techniques. Mindfulness, setting aside worry time, even putting those negative thoughts on trial with, what's it called?
Cognitive restructuring?
Right, cognitive restructuring. But I'm curious, is there anything else we can do to make those thought-taming strategies even more effective?
That's a great question. And you're right to think about how these techniques can, work together. It's like training for a marathon, right? You wouldn't just focus on one type of exercise. You'd incorporate different elements, for overall strength and endurance.
Makes sense. So what else can we add to our mental training regimen?
Well, think about how athletes often use visualization to, improve their performance. They imagine themselves succeeding, and this actually helps to kind of rewire their brains for success. We can do the same thing with our thoughts.
So instead of getting caught up in those negative thought spirals,
Mm-hmm.
we can intentionally visualize more positive scenarios.
Exactly. It's like creating a mental highlight reel of you handling challenging situations with grace and confidence. And the more you practice this, the more those neural pathways for positive thinking get strengthened.
That's so cool. It's like giving those mental acrobats a whole new routine to perform.
Precisely. But remember, taming your thoughts isn't just about, mental strategies. There's a really powerful connection between our minds and bodies, and we can leverage that to our advantage.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this mind-body connection.
Think about how you feel physically when you're stressed or anxious.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well.
Right. Your heart might race, your muscles tense up, you might even feel short of breath. And these physical sensations, they can actually intensify those negative thought patterns.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Anxious thoughts lead to physical tension, which then, feeds back into more anxiety. It's exhausting.
Exactly. But here's the good news. We can disrupt that cycle by taking care of our physical well-being.
So we're talking about things like exercise and healthy eating.
Yes. When we engage in physical activity, our bodies release endorphins, which have mood-boosting effects. Exercise also helps to regulate our stress response system, making us less reactive to those, anxiety triggers.
It's like giving those mental acrobats a more stable platform to perform on. A sturdy trapeze instead of a wobbly tightrope.
I love that analogy. And it doesn't have to be anything, strenuous. Even a brisk walk in nature, some gentle yoga, or a few minutes of dancing can make a difference. The key is to find something you enjoy and that you can realistically incorporate into your routine.
Okay, so exercise is a big one. What about sleep? I know I'm definitely not my best self when I'm running on fumes.
Sleep is absolutely crucial. When we're sleep deprived, our brains are basically running on autopilot, which makes us much more susceptible to those negative thought patterns.
It's like trying to, perform a complex circus act while half asleep. Things are bound to go wrong.
Exactly. Prioritizing sleep is like giving your brain the time it needs to recharge and reset so you can approach those mental challenges with more clarity and resilience.
This is all making so much sense. So we've got exercise, sleep, anything else we can do to support our mental well-being from a physical standpoint.
Absolutely. Let's not underestimate the power of nutrition. What we eat directly impacts our brain chemistry and our ability to, regulate our mood. A diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains can provide the nutrients our brains need to function optimally.
So instead of reaching for that sugary snack when I'm feeling stressed, I should opt for something that will actually, nourish my brain.
Goodbye, donuts, hello, blueberries.
Exactly. Think of it as fuel for your mental acrobatics. You want to give them the high-quality fuel they need to perform at their best.
Wow, okay, I'm really starting to see how all of these pieces fit together. It's not just about managing thoughts in isolation. It's about creating a holistic approach to mental well-being that includes both mental and physical strategies. You got it. It's about recognizing that our minds and bodies are, intricately interconnected, and that taking care of both is essential for taming that thought circus and living a more fulfilling life.
This is such valuable information, and I can already feel myself getting inspired to make some, positive changes. But I bet there's even more to this story, right?
Yeah.
I'm eager to hear what other insights you have to share.
You're right, we've only just begun. There are so many other fascinating aspects of this journey we can explore, so stay tuned because we're about to dive even deeper into the world of thought management.
Welcome back. It feels like we've been on this amazing journey exploring, how to really manage our thoughts, almost like we're learning to be mental ringmasters.
Yeah, and we've found some pretty amazing tools along the way, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mindfulness, that worry time thing, even that cognitive, what was it?
Cognitive restructuring, putting those negative thoughts on trial.
Right. But it's not just about the mental stuff, is it? We talk about how important taking care of our physical selves is too. Exercise, sleep, all that good stuff.
It all plays a part. You can't separate the mind and body, really. They're constantly talking to each other.
Totally. But you know what? There's another piece to this whole puzzle we haven't really touched on yet, and that's connection.
Connection, absolutely.
Okay, so where are we going with this?
So think about it. When you're feeling really overwhelmed, thoughts just swirling, what's the thing someone can do that helps the most?
Honestly, just having someone listen. No judgment, just letting me vent. A hug, maybe some encouraging words, just knowing someone gets it. That makes a huge difference.
Exactly. We're wired for connection. It's in our nature. So when we're struggling, reaching out to people we trust, friends, family, our support system, that can be incredibly powerful.
So it's like even the best ringmaster, they can't do everything alone, right? Sometimes they need someone spotting them, making sure they don't fall, or someone cheering from the sidelines.
Love that analogy. Talking things out with someone who cares, it helps us process those thoughts, gain perspective. Suddenly, we don't feel so alone in the struggle.
It's like taking all those jumbled thoughts from inside our heads and sharing them. They don't feel so heavy anymore.
Right. And sometimes just saying the thoughts out loud, that helps us understand them better too, like untangling a knot.
This is making me think about something we talked about earlier. Getting professional help when those thoughts just won't quit. Is there a connection there too?
Absolutely. Therapy, that's a form of connection as well. It's about building that trusting relationship with someone who can guide you, support you, and has the tools to help you manage those thoughts in a healthy way.
Like having a coach, right? Someone who understands the game and can help you come up with a winning strategy.
Exactly. And just like with physical training, sometimes we need that extra support to reach our full potential.
Okay, this is all making so much sense. Mindfulness, cognitive restructuring, taking care of ourselves physically, and now connection. Anything else we should keep in mind as we, work on becoming those ringmasters?
One last thing, and it might be the most important of all. Be kind to yourself. This whole process, managing our thoughts, it's not about being perfect. It's about progress.
Makes sense.
There will be days when those mental acrobats are just running wild, and that's okay.
Happens to the best of us, right?
Yeah.
Even the most amazing circus performers, they have slip-ups sometimes. Doesn't mean they're not talented.
Right. So when those negative thoughts creep in, acknowledge them, but don't judge yourself for it. Treat yourself with the same kindness you'd give a good friend. You're doing the best you can, and that's enough.
Wow, this deep dive has been incredible. We've learned so much. The power of mindfulness, taking care of our bodies, the importance of connection, and, like you said, being kind to ourselves.
And the best part is, these are skills we can keep building on. The more we practice, the better we get at managing those thoughts. And that leads to a happier, healthier life.
Absolutely. So to everyone listening out there, remember you are not alone on this journey. We all have those mental circuses going on. But with the right tools and some practice, you can become the ringmaster of your own mind. And that's a pretty amazing show to create. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.